we're talking about the funding associated with all of this, which is obviously key with everything that's happening and coming. But I think one interesting bit of data that we've seen recently is with the ACP program, that's obviously subsidizing broadband. There's some really interesting data finally really coming out on that, and what it's showing is the folks that are taking ACP, right, and getting their broadband subsidized, obviously are economically just challenged, right? They're in that poverty level as it's defined, and so that typically represents, right, minorities in a lot of cases, and so what's really interesting though is that those folks are using up to 40% more data than non-ACP users, right? And so huge, right? So there's tons of pent-up demand for usage. So that's one interesting thing we've seen. And secondly, when they're signing up for the plans, they're not signing up and trying to get the cheapest or even free plan. They're using it to buy the higher speed tiered plans and get more gigabit services, because there is that need, right? And sometimes, and it's not obviously just minorities, it's happening all over the place, where you're starting to have multi-generational families within, one particular residence, right? The college kids, they all come back, right, for a while. People that are starting to age in place start to come back, right, and are under one household, and so the need is real. And I think that's really an interesting data point, because if we can figure out affordability in those areas, the need is pent up. It's pent up, right? So I'm pretty thrilled actually to see that data. And I hope our administration, current and future, will continue that program, because that's probably the biggest thing that the government really can aid in. We obviously need to lay infrastructure, and a lot of that's happening, and that's going to be a challenge. But what to Field's point, the pandemic showed that we have broadband problems right in the major metro too, right? Right here in Denver, thousands of kids got disconnected for almost 18 months. Their only connection was at school. Mom and dad don't have a broadband connection, right? So they literally lost their connection to society, if you will, organized society. And so we have a big problem here. But I find that as really interesting data, because typically the big problem with ISPs is redlining out those areas, right? And going after the more affluent and also the most affordable to build too. So I think there's some positive data coming from that we all need to keep an eye out on, because we need to focus on getting all Americans connected affordably.
Yeah. And I would say, I think, oh, sorry.
So good. No, good.
Oh, my last point is, I am as hopeful as Brian that funds for ACP will continue. The pessimistic and skeptical part of me says it might run out and maybe we have a gap, and hopefully it comes back, but who knows who knows. But I think then the challenge is, our ISPs, especially the bigger ones, open to keeping a lower rate? If that subsidy is gone, are you willing to continue? Is that even if that might take a cut in your budget, right? If you're Comcast, that doesn't matter. That's small bottom line for you. Right. And I think it can be more difficult for smaller ISPs, but in my experience, our clients who are small ISPs are more in touch with their community and did more during COVID when there was no subsidy for them to continue that. And I think there can be a sustainability to it. You might have to get creative about it, but I would just encourage everyone that if there is a gap period, continue that, because, as Fields has said, as Brian has said, it is so important for communities to have broadband. And we're doing great work, and I would encourage everyone to not stop that just if there's a hiccup or an interruption, and it's a continuous thing. This isn't just we build it and it's done and great, good, for everyone. It's not, there's a lot of factors to it, and, everyone needs to kind of have their part in making sure things don't end when the funding ends or when it's built.
It's a great point.